We're a week away from wrapping up the 2023 class. It's not like old times. Remember those times when signing day would roll around in February and your favorite team would sign 14, 15 guys? I mean, they might go into signing day with only 5 or 6 commitments. Those days are long gone, but here comes February 1st signing day, and there's still a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. We're going to get into it today. First, let's start the show by taking a look at the On3 consensus team rankings ahead of the February 1st signing day. A few major changes over here, but nothing to change at the top. You got Bama, UGA, Texas in the top 3, and then the drama starts. Miami drops out of the top 5 with Cormani McClain going to Colorado. LSU slides into the top 5 at the 5 spot. Then you also see that UF has dropped out of the top 10 when Jaden Rashada was released from his NLI. This provides Clemson an opportunity to finish with the top 10 class. So that's where it stands right now as we are about 5 or 6 days from signing day. We got Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons with us again today. Chad, it's good to see you. The 2023 cycle is coming to an end. Can you believe it?
It seems like it all kind of came to an end in December, but obviously these last few guys, which are big names, a lot of Jews still left out there. I can't believe it, man. It seems like I've been tracking a lot of these guys for the last 2 or 3 years, so now kind of finally coming to an end, putting a bow on things here February 1st.
Yeah, like you said, relationships that you've had for 2 to 3 years, you're finally going to see where these guys are landing. So let's tie up some loose ends. Number 1 tight end in the nation, Duce Robinson. There's rumors that he might show up in Athens. Do we know what's happening with Duce Robinson heading into this final weekend?
You know, based on what I'm hearing, it seems like if he does visit anywhere this weekend, it'll be an unofficial trip back to Athens, University of Georgia. You know, there's been talk, this whole month or the last 6 weeks about Oregon getting that last official visit this weekend, but I'm not hearing anything really about Oregon. Based on my intel, he did not do an in-home visit with Oregon this week, and all signs point to him again. If nothing's 100% confirmed yet at this time, but if he takes a trip, it'll be back to Georgia this weekend.
Well, the dead period starts on Sunday, and most teams are hosting visitors over the weekend. So coaches essentially are off the road Thursday or Friday of this week. So today or tomorrow, coaches are going to come off the road doing their final in-home visits. Do we know who's going to see Duce Robinson this week, or who has seen Duce Robinson this week?
Yeah, I can say this. I mean, he has a lot on his plate. He's a 2-sport star. So not only is he having right now college coaches in his home, he's having Major League Baseball scouts and advisors in his home as well, preparing for the Major League Draft coming up this summer. So, look, he also plays basketball at Pinnacle High School in Phoenix, Arizona. So there's a lot going on in the world right now for Duce Robinson. But what I can say is on Monday this week, he had USC in first and then Georgia in second. Based on my intel, that's it. He did not let Texas come in for an in-home, didn't let Oregon come in for an in-home. Alabama's kind of faded over the last couple of months. They were in this mix as well. It seems like he squeezed those 2 schools in, and it's coming down to USC versus Georgia.
Well, the On3 recruiting prediction machine shows Georgia with 64.5%. Second place, USC with 25%. So your intel kind of lines up with the RPM here. Now tell me, it seems like I'm big into following the visits, as are you. If Duce shows up in Athens this weekend, is that a wrap? I mean, is it Georgia on signing day?
I think there's no other way to put it, Josh. I mean, if he takes a visit on his own dime with what I'm hearing could be his entire family just days before signing day, to me, he lets it known that Georgia's the leader at that point. I mean, obviously done a good job. He's as good as they come in this class about keeping things disguised, keeping it quiet, not tipping his hand. But obviously, again, follow the visits. If they show up in Athens this weekend, Georgia, Kirby Smart, that staff has to feel very good about their chances heading into next Wednesday.
Okay, so from there, let's talk about another tight end, Walker Lyons. I saw that Kirby Smart was at his school this week, essentially doing his in-home visit for the week, and the last time he'll see him before signing day. Tell me about Walker Lyons. He's a 4-star tight end from Folsom, California. He's a top 200 player, number 6 tight end in the country. Is this a backup plan for Georgia, or is Walker Lyons a take for them even if Duce Robinson were to choose UGA?
No, Josh, I don't think Kirby Smart's taking any time for backup plans on the road this week. I think he's going after guys and going to see guys that they're targeting, guys they want to sign this cycle. Walker Lyons has been a guy. I think, his name has always been attached to Georgia somewhat, but on down that list behind one time he was a Stanford commit, BYU, Utah, USC. Then all of a sudden, Walker Lyons popped up out of nowhere for an official visit when they played Tennessee in the fall. From that point on, Georgia's been right there in the thick of this race, and he is a priority, a major target for Georgia February 1st.
Who's in this battle going down the stretch? Is it UGA Stanford?
Yeah, I think Stanford still has to get him back. Obviously, the coaching change, and I think if David Shaw was still there, Walker's probably still maybe signed already to Stanford. But that coaching change opened up the window, and Georgia's trying to take advantage. But yeah, I think Stanford is the main competition. But I like where Georgia's at for another tight end all the way across the country.
And this is a little bit of an unconventional recruitment, right?
It is. Obviously, Walker's going to sign next week, but he'll go on a mission. He really won't even be a part of the class until the real true 2024 class comes in and enrolls before that season. So he's still a year and a half away until he gets on the college campus he chooses. So yeah, he is a little bit different. He'll sign in 2023, but on paper, as far as the roster goes, he won't be a part of that program until 2024.
Okay. I need you guys to do me a favor. Like and subscribe to this video. Subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. Get the latest recruiting developments and all of the college football news. Subscribe now to the On3 YouTube page. Now we're going to move on to 5-star athlete Nyckoles Harbor. He's going to be in Oregon this weekend. We shot down the rumors that he was in Boulder earlier this week. There was reports on Monday or Tuesday that he was in Colorado. His dad said absolutely not. He couldn't have been in Colorado because he was hosting in-home visitors. What coaches came to see Nyckoles Harbor this week?
Been a busy week again. Like Duce Robinson juggling multiple sports coaches. I mean, Nick had 5 schools we've confirmed in that home between Monday and Wednesday. So it's been a pretty busy week for Harbor. Obviously, the week got started with Oregon. Dan Lanning using his in-home visit on Monday. Then on Tuesday, Michigan was in the house to make a stop and really try to push to get him in Ann Arbor. Then on Wednesday, he had Maryland, Miami, and South Carolina all in at different times to wrap up those final in-home visits. And I think, it's just been a crazy week. I think he'll leave for, Oregon earlier than expected, maybe on Thursday to get out there earlier, kind of speed up the official visit process. But it's been a pretty wild week for the Harbor family.
The On3 recruiting prediction machine shows South Carolina with 30%. They're number 1. Michigan's right there at number 2 with 25.5. South Carolina's done a much better job than I gave them credit for. I thought they got him on campus a little bit too early with that unofficial visit. But heading into this final weekend, is South Carolina the team to beat right now?
If I had to say, I would probably say no, but I think there's optimism in probably the 5 camps that I mentioned, a little bit, obviously the home team, Maryland. People are sleeping on Miami. They have to be mentioned in this. I was told by a couple different sources that Cristobal has been one-on-one involved with Harbor, that family. He has not taken a trip to Coral Gables officially, but he did run track down in South Florida before. He's been around the University of Miami, just not the football program. So he has an idea about things, and Miami cannot be slept on here. But I'm hearing a lot more about Oregon right now, heading into this final official visit, and Maryland's up there. South Carolina, like you said, has been up there for a long time. And then Michigan, who's been perceived as the front runner, the leader, much of the way, is the 5th school involved. I think all 5 schools feel they have a shot to sign Nick Harbor next Wednesday.
Wow. So what's it going to come down to for Nyckoles Harbor? What do you think is the most important factor for him?
For him alone, I think it's just that package: track, football, NIL, who can build his brand as that 2-sport freak athlete, who can promote him, help prepare him for the Olympic trials. I think it's just the package deal. All of that factors in. who can take care of his body while he's playing football, who can prep him on the track, who can build that brand, that national global. He wants that global brand around his name as a track phenom, football 5-star. So NIL factors in as well. And then, of course, when you talk to the parents, all about the academics, he has to be taken care of in the proper culture, the environment. But I think for Harbor alone, building his brand is very important to him. Where can he be that global star on the next level?
All right. Well, we'll see. He's a top 25 player in the country, so somebody is going to get a big-time player come signing day. All right. Let's stay in the top 100 with 4-star cornerback Rodrick Pleasant. He's uncommitted and unsigned. He's done a couple unofficial visits. Any word on if he takes an unofficial visit this weekend? Is he going anywhere the final weekend before signing day?
Kind of like Duce Robinson, that there's a little bit of chatter out there that not like Duce traveling across the country from Phoenix to Athens, but for Pleasant, staying home, going in his backyard, back to USC this weekend. Nothing has been confirmed or locked in yet 100%, but obviously where he lives, right outside of Los Angeles, easy drive. Easy for Lincoln probably to say, hey, just come over and let's have lunch, man. Let's chat it up. Me, you, Dante Williams, a track coach. Let's hang out. So I'm hearing he could be there this weekend. That would be huge for USC because they're in a big dogfight with Oregon for Rodrick Pleasant.
All right, so it's a 2-team race there. We'll see what Rodrick Pleasant does. Right now, 52.8% of the On3 recruiting prediction machine is in the Trojans' favor. Oregon trailing at 39.6%. All right. Let's talk about 4-star quarterback Jaden Rashada. We've talked about him a lot since he asked out of his NLI from UF. He received his release, and he's officially back on the market. Last weekend, took a visit to Arizona State. We covered that on Monday's show. He's going to hit TCU this weekend. Chad, it's been a busy week for Jaden Rashada. What's the latest on his recruitment?
Well, we've confirmed he had an in-home visit with TCU this week, and from reports, things went really well. You know, Sonny Dykes was not there in person, but got on the phone with Rashada, had a nice phone call. The relationship goes back to Kendall Briles being in Arkansas. Rashada took a visit there to Arkansas. They've always connected, had that relationship. It may not be quite as strong as his connection with Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, but that's where it all starts for TCU. And I think they're kind of in the driver's seat this weekend heading into this final visit.
Do you get the feeling that he's going to sign with somebody next week on February 1st signing day?
I do. I still feel the same as when we talked, I think, on Monday or Tuesday, Josh, that right now all signs point to him, making things again, I guess, for a second time official, signing the letter of intent on Wednesday. And I do think right now it's TCU versus Arizona State. All
right. We'll see how that plays out. We're going to also be doing a live show on signing day. Chad Simmons going to be here in the On3 Nashville studios. It's going to be a blast. I want to talk about a 3-star defensive lineman, Jamel Howard, out of Chicago, Illinois. This is actually a really interesting recruitment. He's a 3-star, ranked about the 1,000th best player in the country. But what happened was he failed to sign on national signing. I shouldn't say failed. He chose not to. And what happens when you choose not to sign on National Signing Day and everybody else does? Well, the supply of defensive linemen goes down, but demand is still there because teams need defensive linemen. So Jamel Howard, obviously, his value has increased. The 6'3", 320-pound defensive lineman was committed to Wisconsin from June until November. Michigan seemed like the favorite to land him. Coming off of his decommitment from Wisconsin, he took an unofficial, then back-to-backed it with an official visit right before the dead period in the early signing period. Michigan thought they were going to get him. He just doesn't sign, takes his recruitment into January. Now several teams are on him. Michigan, Miami, LSU, Illinois. His recruitment has absolutely blown up. Chad, what are you hearing on Jamel Howard?
Yes, like you said, Josh, it's funny. I mean, number 1,000 right now on paper, but when 945 other guys sign in December, you're number 55 in the country now come February 1st. So
all of a sudden, it's a big-time recruitment.
Yeah, you move up pretty quickly, like you said. But based on the intel, I think Michigan was somewhat shocked he didn't sign in the December early signing. They had him on campus the weekend before. He was in Ann Arbor for the OV, had a great time. The buzz was he was somewhat of a, I guess if there can be a lock to sign early with Michigan. But they've stayed on him. They've stayed consistent. They're still very much involved. But I think Miami this weekend is one to watch for sure. In-state, Brett Bielema's had a good time recruiting in-state kids. Malik Elzy signed with them in the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. He loved to keep him at home, but I feel like they're backer in the pack right now. LSU's trying to hang in there, but I'm hearing right now, again, Miami this weekend is crucial for Howard. They're going up, I think, against right now Michigan, but you have to watch, like you said, LSU, Illinois as well. But right now, Michigan versus Miami is what I'm watching.
Fascinating recruitment that really blew up from out of nowhere. So we'll continue to track Jamel Howard into next week. We'll let you know how his official visit to Miami goes this weekend. Chad, we got one more show before signing day, and then you'll be in studio next Wednesday. Can't wait to see you again. Thanks for joining us today on the Inside Scoop.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me, and remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.